Hi, this is Max. So I'm going to give you a super simple introduction to how to manage conversion tracking in Google Ads. I'm going to do this quick and easy for you.
Right. Let's do this.
So firstly, we've got e-commerce versus the non-e-commerce options. E-commerce has become more difficult because of Google Analytics. So there is the GA UA version, but obviously Universal Analytics is now dead. So you have to set up conversion tracking. Generally, the simplest way is either to go into GA4 and set it up there and then redirect it back. But this does have a lot of bugs right now. So the alternatives are that you can directly get the code added to your custom website. So this, I'm not going to go into more detail here particularly, but other than coming into some of the settings. So within this, even though this is UA, so you wouldn't be using this one, but this is just a dead account to use as an example. Let's go through each of them. So this is just the name, so you can change the name anytime you like. If this was dead, for example, like we're not using UA anymore, I might put, dead as UA data, like closed or something. Primary or secondary. So primary is choosing whether this is the important thing that we should be trying to optimize for. So if you use things like maximize conversions or maximize conversion value, then this is what it's used for. Whereas if it's secondary, this does not get used in any kind of optimization strategies, but you can still see it. So a secondary objective could be add to basket in this case, or if you're an inquiry kind of system, it could be someone clicking on a button to book a call, but they haven't actually booked the call yet. So you don't want to optimize for people just clicking that button, but you do want to know when people do it, as it's a good pre-signal before. Then there's value. This is extremely commonly not used. In e-commerce it generally is, of course, because it's all automatically done for you most of the time, but very often when I see in the B2B space this is not filled in. So that's a real issue, because you cannot optimize in a more nuanced way. Sometimes you don't need it, to be totally fair, but most of the time you do, because if, for example, me as an agency, someone books a call with me, that's much more valuable compared to someone completing an inquiry form, for example. And so these different levels of interest or kind of opportunity that come from these types of conversions should be registered as different values to you as a business. So you can do things like maximize conversion value rather than just maximize conversions.
That makes sense.
And this will give you a more nuanced approach from Google on where to bid. The rest, this is where it comes in from, the source. So you can see it came in or imported from Google Analytics. This is the account. This is a particular client of ours. This is transaction. This is an important one that people often get wrong. So if it's e-commerce, it's every. If it's B2B lead gen, it's generally once, because in every time recommended for purchase, because every purchase is valuable. So obviously if people pay you money and each time they do that's of value, then you of course every time this converts, even if it's the same person, that's fine. Whereas if the same person came and made 5 inquiries to my website, it doesn't matter that they made 5, it only matters that we got one from them and we now have their details so that we can reach out to them. So this is an important one to get right. And then click through. So lots of people think this is more complicated than it is, I think. In other places you might want to be nuanced on how long you want to attribute things, but within Google Ads you want to just get as much data as possible, because even if it's 2 months later that someone who originally found you through an ad went and made a purchase, you still want to know that, and so you always want to set that to 90 days so that there's as much data coming in as possible. In terms of this, it varies a lot in terms of the options. You can see that actually nowadays they're slowly trying to kill away all of these different types of conversion options. A lot of the time it's data driven that we prefer, because this balances between the first and the last click. This will change how many are going through your brand versus your non-branded campaigns, because often brand gets more at the last click, because unsurprisingly people click around and then they finally end up at the brand ad because they're researching again for your brand's name. They click on that and then they buy, and then that means that brand gets the conversion, even though it was another campaign that actually helped them discover you. So these are the core settings. This is an e-commerce scenario. So let's go back out. This is the new view, by the way, of Google Ads, which I currently hate. Maybe over time I'll learn to love it, but at the moment I don't like it. This is the more general page that has all of your different types of conversion actions. So I always like to click this, view all conversion actions, because they hide them, and this is an easier spreadsheet, I think. So you can see that it gives you the attribution, all this nice good stuff. There's some that are automatically always here, like calls from smart campaigns, you just can't get rid of it, and some others that will appear. But to make a new one, you hit this plus button, plus for conversion. So you can get them in various ways. So this is straight from the Google Ads tracking itself. There's app tracking, so if you're trying to get people to download an app, this is obviously the one. Track from calls on your ads or the website, so this is obviously phone call tracking, and then there's the import. I won't go through all of them. Also, the really important one here is offline lead conversions. So for a business like me or anybody who has lots of inquiries coming in, but you don't know which are the good ones, so you want to send through offline conversions, which are anything that happens after the user has left that website and gone somewhere else. So for example, a classic example of that would be a CRM system, which captures when someone goes from just making an inquiry to having had the call with me, for example, and then I judge that as a good lead, so then I might move them to a qualified lead status, or all sorts of other versions of what you can call that, but some version of a good lead essentially. And so that would be how you do that, is through the offline lead conversions. Yeah, if I click into just one of these, I'll go into, let's just say, so just to show you a few bits and pieces, this is the examples that it gives you. Yeah, let's say contact and page load funjumper.com/thank you. So this would be maybe a page they get redirected to. So this could be the conversion for that, and then this is it. That's literally it. You've done it. You will need to do things like add the tag. So if we do save and continue, so you'll have to set up the Google tag. You can also ask a developer to do it, but it's not as hard as it sounds like, I don't think. So if I hit setup, hopefully this will show us some good steps. So install manually. So basically you're going to add this. If you've done Google Analytics tag, it's the same system, just a different tag. So you do exactly as it says. Copy and paste the code into every page of your website immediately after the head. So this just, don't freak out. There's just a little head with chevrons on either side. So there's a head with a closed slash. So you'll copy this by clicking that button, put that into your website. Again, you can ask a developer to do it, or there's lots of, if you use things like WordPress, there's lots of snippet managers and things like that that make this quite easy as well. And yeah, this is the simple path to setting up conversion tracking. That's a classic easy conversion tracking. I'm not going to go more detail. I'm going to keep this super simple. I'm going to close that one off. This is conversion tracking. Main things are cover everything. So not just the inquiry forms, but clicking into the inquiry form and all these other steps. Make them primary and secondary appropriately, so you get lots of data coming in. Make sure that the count is correct, so transactions multiple times is okay, then do every, and if it's an inquiry, generally it's one. Make it 90 days always for everything, and generally speaking, conversion value is one of the most missed things when it comes to B2B especially, which is really valuable to have. And attribution is generally data driven nowadays. Google Ads is forcing that on us pretty aggressively. I hope this was of use. This is relatively quick, but there's lots to cover, but I hope it gets you unstuck and helps you to understand Google Ads conversion tracking. And otherwise, I will see you in the next one if you enjoy this kind of thing.